Good morning and welcome to the Headwaters for Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Promo Miller, and we are in Harper, Texas at the station on 290. And if you see right behind us here, we've actually got one of the choppers from the show American Choppers from OCC, which it is a beautiful bike, and we appreciate them bringing it down here. Immediately to my left is Jacob Haverda. And to the far left is my old friend Paco Garcia and my friend Hollie Baker over here. She's the Office Coordinator for Headwaters for Heroes. And we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty about how this organization operates and what goes into the annual fundraisers that they do for combat veterans and Gold Star families. And, these are the people that give the most precious gift of all, and that is their time. Time is something you can never get back. And if you're willing to give it away for others, well, God bless you. Morning, Paco. How you feeling this morning?
I'm great, brother.
All right. We were sitting around the fire having a few beverages last night, and
The beverages ain't bothering me. It's the sinuses, man.
oh yeah, I got bold. So, Paco, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this organization.
It's been about 6 years ago. We went, another veteran friend of mine, we went to school together. We met up in San Antonio, and a friend of his, we were talking about hunting.
Yeah.
And I've been a guide for over 20-something years at different ranches across Texas, and we just, at that time in my life, I wanted to get back, and my kids are grown. Both of my boys are veterans, and they're grown already. So I wanted to get back into the outdoors. And so we got to talking to another guy who used to be a volunteer for Headwaters, and he told me about Headwaters. So that set me in motion. I came up and went to the Headwaters Saloon and started asking questions, and by now, I've never met a stranger.
Sure.
So I met with Steve at one point, got to talking, and I'm just some nobody showing up. So
Sure.
and at the same time,
Steve's never met a stranger either, so
yeah. So he was interviewing me, but at the same time, I was interviewing him to see if there was something I wanted to get involved in. Well, I think this is our 6th year with Headwaters, and my wife and I, we volunteered a lot of time, and it helps me. It helped me get back in the outdoors and see some of these ranches and meet some good people, and that's how it started for me, man.
And you're a veteran also.
Yeah, I am. I'm an Army veteran, and
You were airborne.
Airborne, yes.
All right.
And my boys, Robert, he followed suit with the 82nd. My younger brother, he's a combat veteran with the 82nd Airborne. My youngest son, Vincent, he's went off the other way. He went to the Marine Corps, but we still love him. And
we need Marines too.
yeah, absolutely. And then most recently, my nephew, my brother's oldest son, he's serving currently. He's home on leave right now too. I need to go visit him when he gets back.
Outstanding. Jacob, tell us a little bit about what this organization has meant to you.
Organization really is very heartfelt. I feel it's an organization that's unlike any other. We, as myself being a veteran too, we're giving back to our brothers and sisters in arms, and also getting to help families that have lost a loved one. Watching these kids go out there and shoot their first animal, being that figure for them to let them know that, hey, it's okay that you don't have a father or mom or whatever. We're here to help you learn. And growing up in a hunting family, we were able to, you're able to look at the outdoors in a whole different light when you get to take the life of something and appreciate it. And it's awesome to get back to these kids and also fellow veterans that come out and they don't want to pull that trigger again. They pull that trigger overseas doing stuff that they don't want to mention. But getting them to do it and letting them know that, hey, it's okay to do that now.
Sure.
And they get back into it and they feel very welcome. The biggest thing for me is when I go on hunts as a guide for the pro staff is I don't tell them I'm a vet. I don't want them to focus on me right now. I want them to focus on their brothers that are there with them. Most of the time we try to have at least 2 vets there together. Sure. So those 2 guys can intermingle. And by the end of the weekend, they're like, you served? They're like, I did. But, it's not about me right now. It's about you.
That's amazing. And I'm sure that that you've probably got a lot of stories. Can you share maybe a moment where you just realized, that this is the place for me?
Man, I think every one of my hunts is that way. I'm PTSD. I have that disqualification, you call it, but I now call it a qualification that I can work with my brothers, let them know that, hey, I've been there. I've tried to commit suicide. I've done the drinking. I've done that. And at the end of the day, there is a way out. And the way out is you have to want it. And with this organization is talking to some of those guys that have now, I didn't know from Adam when I first met him, but now I know them, and we're able to call, communicate, and just talk about BS. And it makes me feel at ease to know that they're okay. And let them know that I reached somebody, and then that somebody reaches somebody else, and we're able to just keep it going.
It's important for, these kids to have mentors. And so, it is truly a blessing for y'all to be able to take them out. And I'm on the sidelines, but I see it. Coming, I think this is our third year coming up here for this event, and it really is a labor of love, and so much goes into it. Hollie, when do you start for next year? Monday, yeah. That's what I thought you were going to say. But just give us a few of the things that it takes to put on an event like this.
Well, this was all new to me since I just started with Headwaters last August, and so this was baptism by fire is what I got.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start early, and so that way there was a lot of things that I could find out about without really messing it up before the event happened. So I started on posters back in, I think, October or November, and to get stuff started, even though it wasn't till the end of April, but the time went fast, and there's a lot into talking to people who are volunteering and the sponsors and the vendors, and there is just so much, and I couldn't do it myself. I'm very thankful for the people that have helped me, volunteers that have come in and called, on vendors, and it's just, there's so much to it that, even I'm still learning after this, last couple of days of, everybody showing up, and this is what we do for the car show, and this is what we're doing for the clay shoot, and I've never been to a clay shoot in my life, so I was like, I have no clue, but really thankful for the people that have been doing this for years. Tim Tompkins, who runs the car show, Paco and Amanda have been a wonderful resource for me. I met them 2 weeks after I started, and they have just been amazing to work with. And Steve is always willing, even though he may not want to, but he'll stop. And if I say I don't get it, please explain this to me. He may have to do it a few times, but it's all coming together. He kept saying, you'll see eventually this is all gonna work out, because I was like, oh my God, this is gonna fall apart, and it's my fault.
Yeah. And you always wish you just had one more week.
Yeah.
And if you had that week, you would want another week to get prepared for it.
I think another big thing is a lot of people don't know Hollie came in August, and deer hunting in Texas, as for a lot of the MLD places, we start in October. And so not only was Hollie dealing with the fundraisers, she was dealing with all of us guys that were pushing through paperwork that saying, hey, this is where this hunt's happening and all this. So it's not like Hollie was just worried about the fundraiser, which is a full-time job, but she was also supporting all of us pro staff and supporting the organization with the hunts. And there's a lot.
Getting ready for the fishing tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we actually,
That was a big thing.
yeah, we actually made it over for the, when was that?
In September, wasn't it?
It's the weekend of September 11th.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I remember we were filming somewhere, and we just basically stopped what we were doing. Randall was like, we're going to go over here and visit, for a while, and we really enjoyed that. And now, there are rules, Paco, that y'all have to follow. Tell us about some of that.
Man, obviously, with any rule, with any organization, it's about safety, and it's unfortunate that so we have, when we get with these guys and we get to these locations, some of these ranches we've been to, whatever, or that we go to, they opened up their one ranch that I just got back from in Missouri. They have a fully stocked bar and all that, but you've got to be really careful. And I'm an ex-law enforcement officer and have extensive training in the narcotics side and all that, the people side, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to be really careful about putting somebody who has documented PTSD, mixing alcohol, mixing these stories, and mixing this environment. You've got to really pay attention to that. So the rules are in place for not only my safety, the ranch owner's safety, the veteran's safety, but it just, if you deal with it across the board that way, man, you make sure you cross all the T's, dot all the I's, so that nothing unexpected happens.
Yeah, and
and I'm sorry, Bryan.
No, go ahead.
Also,
Please.
with the other parts of it, you have to tend to. We went across state lines, so we're carrying firearms across state lines. We're bringing animals back across state lines and that kind of stuff. So we had to make sure we were following all those regulations. Meat forms and taxidermy forms, if you don't want to get caught with, because a lot of times we've hauled meat for, heck, when we went down to Santa Cruz, you got different 400 or 500 hunters out there, and you got to make sure everything's processed correctly, so that in the case we do get pulled over by the game warden, all the paperwork's in order, so that we don't get a bad name on the organization as well, so it's all in place for a reason, man.
And Jacob, COVID has brought in a new element.
COVID has. Being in the fire service now currently, I deal with that daily, but we as an organization, one of our biggest focuses is the ranch rules, right? We have our rules, and our rules are to make sure that everybody is safe, and the ranch also comes along and says, hey, we want these rules implied too. And as our organization reads, the ranch rules will override our rules. We had a ranch down south. A gentleman asked, hey, can you get everybody COVID tested, because he's an older gentleman and he wanted to make sure his family, because his family was down there and everybody was safe. So I had a gentleman, a Purple Heart gentleman, come up from Houston area, and it was down south. He had to take a 3-hour drive, but we let everybody know in advance, you need to get a COVID test. But we will do COVID testing at the gate. I had COVID test with me, and there's nothing more disheartening than me have to turn that veteran around, which happened. The gentleman drove 3 hours. He said that he was good. I tested him 3 times before I had the courage up to say no, and that you have to go back home.
I'm sure it broke your heart.
It did. It broke my heart, but as an organization, our integrity is very strong, and we have to follow what that ranch says and what our rules are. Like I said, it broke my heart.
Sure.
We're doing a filming episode for the Headwaters Outdoors, and this gentleman is he had a great story, but we're gonna get him back out. I told him that. I said, don't you worry, brother. We're gonna get you back out. I'm sorry you have to go home. Heck, even one of the guys that was on the film crew had to go home because he was tested positive for COVID, and that's just the way it is. And if I would have tested positive, I would have had to gone home too. And we have to have a lot of backup plans. We had 2 guys to go down there at that time too, to make sure if one of us was positive that we weren't going to interrupt what happened.
Sure.
And we were lucky that the ranch owner knew a Purple Heart, because we got on the phone as soon as we found out and started working on backups on that stuff. And a lot of times our hunts are midweek, that's when the ranch can get down there. So it's like, hey, now we got to reach out to veterans, and being a close-knit organization with Purple Hearts and stuff like that, we were able to fulfill that thing, and it was awesome.
That's awesome. And a new element to this is the TV show, Headwaters for Heroes Outdoors, on the Pursuit Channel. Yes, and our company's actually producing that, and it's been a labor of love from the beginning. Randall and Richard Reeder used to have Killing and Grilling. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all have heard any of those stories. They had T-shirts that said "Kill responsibly" on it, and I think that's a good motto for everyone, all hunters and hunting organizations. Just one last thing, Hollie. how did you find this organization, or how did this organization find you? Because I remember when the last office coordinator left, Steve was looking for the right fit exhaustively. And I remember when he found you, we were talking, and he said, no, I found the one, so who found who?
It was actually, I could say it was a God thing, and I know some people
Absolutely.
are like, huh, but I know it was. I was working in Fredericksburg. I'd been with the same company for almost 10 years. It was almost 10 years at that point. And every day the newspaper sends out an email with an update, and every Wednesday is when the paper comes out in Fredericksburg. And what I would do is I'd go through, I read whatever's going on locally, then I hit the COVID thing, okay, I'm done. But just something that day told me to scroll down. And I never scroll down past that because I know it's just ads in the sports, and that isn't me. But I just scroll down, and there is this ad. It says Headwaters for Heroes in Harper. And I knew I'd heard of Headwaters for Heroes. I'd been living in Harper for about 8 months at that point, and I had heard of it, but really didn't know what it was. So I texted the number, which was Steve, and he called me a couple hours later, and we ended up talking for about 45 minutes on the phone. And I was laughing kind of. I was teasing about it a couple days ago. I said, yeah, that conversation was fun. I mean, he was trying to tell me everything, and he was so passionate about it. But he kept saying, I've got to get off and get this bid done. I've got to get off and get this bid done. But he stayed on, talked to me, and I told him, I said, wow, I said, the passion that you have for what you're doing for the veterans, for the Gold Star families. I didn't even know what a Gold Star family was. This was new to me. My stepdad is he's a Marine, but he never really talked about anything that happened to him in Vietnam. So, because this was pretty much foreign to me, and nonprofit was foreign to me. But I came in for an interview with him and Danny Denson, and we just pretty much sat and talked for a little while. And I told him, I said, you know what, whether I get this job or not, I want to be part of this. There's
amazing.
Just so much that I think I could do to help.
Sure.
And contacts that I have, and and I was just so excited. I had talked to Amanda, and which is Paco's wife. Like I said, they have been just amazing through all of this. And when he called me, he's like, when can you start? I'm like, Monday. He's like, okay, see you Monday. Really?
That's awesome. And you said it was a God thing, and that is there's been my experience with this organization, is that everyone who's involved, their faith in God has been the focus.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And in fact, the very first time, I think I was our very first conversation was about the ministry, the Save Savage ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I get it. I'm a Save Savage too. And we talked for a very, very long time that night about God and faith, and
We're not here by coincidence, brother. I promise you that.
Oh, I know that for a
We're not
fact.
here by coincidence, man. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
I know they have an episode coming up on that, but I can talk on that for hours, man.
Absolutely.
But it is absolutely. I just had a conversation. We had a 17-hour drive. Well, my portion of it with my veteran was 14 hours up to Missouri last weekend, and we had a very, very deep conversation. And it PTSD driven. Why this happened to me? Why did this happen to those guys and all that? And our conversation, man, means. I mean, those things, those kind of things. When you make those kind of brotherhoods, and there's no BS about it. We're a brotherhood. We're a sisterhood. I mean, this is a family.
Sure.
This is a family environment. And you've been to the fishing thing. Whenever Hollie first came on, I could see her face, man. She was smiling from ear to ear when we finally put together the fishing tournament and everything's together. And I told Hollie, I said, hey, you're taking in, you're looking at the whole picture. I said, but take time to look at the details. Look at these kids playing, these guys talking. The friendships and camaraderie and relationships that are being established at this thing.
Sure.
And that's, sit back and look at the details of the big picture. It's amazing, man.
That
It
is.
is.
I think that that is a good place to leave us for, and I thank y'all for being here and taking part in this. And you know, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the fish fry tonight.
Oh man,
I'm a little hungry. So we're gonna leave it at that, and they've got more recordings to do today. As I said before, I'm Bryan Promo Miller, and I have really enjoyed this, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for what y'all do.